back to All About That Disney Life. I am Danny B, the girl who is all about that Disney life. We now move on to Melody Time, which came out in 1948. This is the fifth musical animation film that was part of the musical fantasy package that Walt Disney created after World War II to help the studios make quick money. So let's get to know the cast who helped make this movie possible. We had Buddy Clark as our master of ceremonies. He sang the opening title song in Melody Time. We had Roy Rogers, who was himself a narrator and a singer for the story Pecos Bill. And we were also treated with Trigger, his horse, that was also in the movie. We had Dennis Day, who was a singer, narrator, and provided voices for the story of Johnny Appleseed. We had the Andrews sisters, who were singers and were a part of the Little Toot story. We had Fred Waring and the Pennsylvanians, who were singers, who helped tell the Tree Story segment. We had Ethel Smith as herself. She was an organist in the story Blame It on the Samba. We had Frances Langford, who was the singer and storyteller for Once Upon a Winter Time. We had Bob Nolan as himself, who was a narrator and singer for the Pecos Bill story. We had Bobby Driscoll, who was himself for the Pecos Bill story. We had Luana Patton as herself for the Pecos Bill story. We had Pinto Colvig, who was the Aracuan bird in Blame It on the Samba, and the vocal effects for Big Toot in the Little Toot story. We had the Dining Sisters, who were in a couple of the songs. Lastly, we had Freddie Martin and his orchestra, who provided music for the story Bumble Boogie. Now we get on to the facts about Melody Time. Number 1, these 7 stories. Walt Disney's idea for Melody Time was to make it like Fantasia. As he said, it would be a treat for the eyes and for the ears, and there's something in this movie for everyone. So let's get to the facts about the different storylines in Melody Time. The first story is Once Upon a Winter Time. It is sung by Frances Langford, and it's about a young couple named Joe and Jenny who go ice skating during December in the late 19th century. This segment was later released in theaters as an individual short on September 17th, 1954. This story was also a compilation video for a Walt Disney Christmas during the song Let It Snow, Let It Snow, Let It Snow, sung by Bing Crosby. The next story is Bumble Boogie. It's about a bee trying to escape a visual and musical frenzy. The music was provided by Freddie Martin and his orchestra, with Jack Finna playing the piano. This is a swingy jazz version of Flight of the Bumblebee, and this song idea was a potential storyline for the movie Fantasia, so this got recycled into Melody Time. The next story is The Legend of Johnny Appleseed. It's the retelling of the story John Chapman, who was a pioneer who spent majority of his life planting apple trees. Dennis Day tells the story and gives the voices for both Johnny Appleseed and his guardian angel. This story was released independently on December 25th, 1955 as Johnny Appleseed. The next story is Little Toot. It was written by Hardy Gramataki. It's about a little tugboat who lives in New York City, and he wants to grow up and be just like his dad, who was a big, strong tugboat. The story was told and sung by the Andrews sisters, and Melody Time was the last movie that the Andrews sisters appeared in. A clip from the story briefly appears in a song, Friendship, on Disney's sing-along song volume, Friend Like Me. It's also featured in the TV series Sing Me a Story with Belle. And this movie, A Little Toot, inspired the British children TV series Tugs. The next story is Trees. It's based on the poem Trees by Alfred Joyce Kilmer, which was published in 1913. It's performed by Fred Waring and the Pennsylvanians, and there's a lyrical setting with the trees to tell the story of the trees changing during the 4 seasons of the year. The next story is Blame It on the Samba, where we see Donald Duck and Joe Carioca walk into a cafe and meet up with the Aracuan bird. The music for this segment is the 1914 polka Afinahite Cavaquinho, and I hope I'm saying that right, and it was originally written by Ernesto Nazareth, and there's English lyrics to go along with it. It's sung by the Dining Sisters, and their organist that plays a little bit in Blame It on the Samba is Ethel Smith. This is the last film to include Donald Duck and Joe Carioca until they made a cameo appearance in 1998 in Who Framed Roger Rabbit. The last story in Melody Time is the story of Pecos Bill. It's about a Texas hero who was raised by coyotes, and he grew up to be the biggest and best cowboy ever. The story also talks about his horse Widowmaker, who Bill once saved from a bunch of vultures when they were kids. The story also talks about his romantic interest, Slewfoot Sue, who Widowmaker was very jealous of, and Widowmaker caused Slewfoot Sue to literally fly to the moon on the day of Pecos Bill and Slewfoot Sue's wedding. The story is told and sung by Roy Rogers, Bob Nolan, Trigger, ironically, and the Sons of the Pioneers. And they tell the story to Bobby and Luana, who make little cameo appearances. Number 2, the release of Melody Time. Melody Time was originally released in the United States on May 27th, 1948. It was also released to Brazil and Argentina in the year of 1948. It was also released in Australia in 1949. It was released in Mexico and Uruguay in 1950. And from December 1948 to September 15th, 1954, it was later released all over Europe. So it started in the UK and then it ended in Denmark. Disney later released a film package called Musicland that had 9 shorts, and they were reused materials from Make My Music and Melody Time, and 5 of the stories from Melody Time ended up being in this new film package. Number 3, the box office and an award. Melody Time returned rentals to RKO by 1951 of $2,560,000, with $1,810,000 coming from the United States and Canada. It also won an international award for animated film at the 1948 Venice Film Festival. Number 4, the legacy of Melody Time. The stories were later released as shorts. Bumble Boogie was among the few stories to receive a lot of popularity upon its individual release. The Little Toot story was popular that it was re-released as a short cartoon in 1954 and featured on Walt Disney's weekly TV series. There are a lot of references to Pecos Bill at Frontierland at Magic Kingdom. A sign of Bill outside the Pecos Bill Tail Inn and Cafe. There's also pictures of Bill and the other characters from the Pecos Bill story, and their accessories are around the cafe. There are a pair of gloves with the inscription "To Billy with Love" from Slewfoot Sue. That's in a glass display case. Joe Carioca appears in a mural on the ceiling in the World of Disney store. There is a script for Melody Time in a glass case, which is displayed in the windows of the All-Star Movies Resort. Number 5, can we see any of the characters from Melody Time? Well, I have a little bit of fact of some of the characters you can still see and some that are no longer there. The Aracuan bird is seen in Mickey's Sensational Parade on Donald's Fiesta Fantastico unit. The bumblebee from Bumble Boogie appeared in the opening unit of the former Happiness is Here parade at Tokyo Disneyland. He also made a brief appearance among the flying characters during Wondrous Journeys at Disneyland. Pecos Bill, there was a show at the Golden Horseshoe Saloon. He was portrayed by a live actor named Wally Bogg, and he was the star of the Golden Horseshoe Revue at Disneyland. It would become the longest running stage production in history, running from Disneyland's opening day on July 17th, 1955, until the show closed on October 12th, 1986. There is an animated portrait of Bill that appears as art on the doors of the windows alongside Slewfoot Sue, who was the host of the show. For Big Thunder Mountain Railroad, Pecos Bill references are in the ride, in the Keek by posters, which advertise the Tall Tale Inn. There is a post of Pecos Bill on the bulletin board where it says Bill and Sue are going to celebrate their marriage in the Gold Dust Saloon of Tumbleweed. At Tokyo Disneyland, there is a Pecos Bill Inn. And also, Pecos Bill and Widowmaker can be seen as a popcorn turner figurine in one of the Western Lands popcorn machines, with Bill turning the handle using his boot. You could have also seen Slewfoot Sue at some of the Disney parks. She was at the Golden Horseshoe Saloon, and her live actor was played by Betty Taylor at Disneyland. Also at Disneyland at the Main Street Cinema, there's a posting at the Disneyland casting agency from Slewfoot Sue. She was asking for dancers and comedians to audition for the Golden Horseshoe Saloon. At Shanghai Disneyland, there's reference to her for Mickey and Pal's Market Cafe. I'm not sure how, I couldn't find that information. And at Tokyo Disneyland, there is a live version of Slewfoot Sue seen at the Diamond Horseshoe in the show The Diamond Horseshoe Presents Mickey and Company. And that is all the facts I found about Melody Time. I know it's short, but that is all I could find. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and leave a comment down below. And don't forget to subscribe. And I hope you have a zippity-doo-dah day. Goodbye.